Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Isabel and this is my library. In today's video, I bring you a massive book haul. I'm so excited for today's video. I've been compiling all the books that I've purchased within the last few months in preparation for this book haul. So the first thing I did was I kind of decided to organize them. I made some piles and I kind of put the piles in certain categories, like books I'm reading for this, or books that I got because of this, or books that I was gifted. So I tried to make some sort of sense, but for the most part, I'm just going to be sharing with you all the new books that have come into my library and that I'm super excited to read and shelve and put away, and all that good stuff. So glad you're here with me today and you can watch me haul some of these books. So the first group of books that I want to talk to you about are some nostalgic buys for me. So as you guys know, there are lots of book collections that I am working on getting, on finishing, on getting caught up with. And there's also a lot of books from my youth that I'm still searching for and I'm trying to either purchase again or get the complete set of. So the first three books I want to share with you fulfill that category. So the first book that I was able to pick up is Deadwood City, which is Choose Your Own Adventure book number 8. Believe it or not, I did not have this. I didn't have this in my collection. As you guys know, I'm pretty close to completing all 180 or whatever it is of these, but I was missing number 8. This is one that I have read, so I know I probably checked it out from the library as a little kid, but I didn't have it in my personal collection for some weird reason. So I was able to pick this up on Thrift Books. And yeah, now it's going to be added to my collection of Choose Your Own Adventure books. Another nostalgic buy that I was able to find also on Thrift Books was Dungeon of Darkness. And this is a fantasy forest book. This is book number 5. And as you guys know, I do love collecting any kind of Choose Your Own Adventure book. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Choose Your Own Adventure. I like all of the spin-off kind of books that came from that. The Pick Your Path or, Fantasy Forest book or whatever it is. But all of these books that basically we read as children that gave us a fork on the road, right? And gave us like a decision that we had to make and we had to pick it and then, you know, venture that way. I love all of them. I love the Dungeons and Dragons inspired ones, and these I didn't have too many of when I was young, so I've been little by little, whenever I find them on Thrift Books and I find them for a good price, I go ahead and pick those up. But I'm very excited. It's in pretty good condition, considering, and I paid a good enough, decent price for it. So I'm happy to bring this one into my collection. And then lastly, what I picked up was The World of the Unknown, all about ghosts. And I'm not sure if you guys remember this. I mean, if you're more or less as old as I am, you remember like seeing this in the library, or maybe your teacher had it as a part of like the set. I know that there were a couple of them, but obviously the ghost one was my favorite. And I enjoyed, like, obviously like the pictures inside, but it was also like organized in like a really cool way. And obviously this is like all about ghosts, so it tells you what ghosts are and that different sightings of ghosts throughout the world, different types of ghosts, poltergeists or purposeful ghosts or whatnot. And I just loved that this was all about the supernatural, and it felt like an encyclopedia. And when I was little, I loved encyclopedias. I was nerdy like that, and I know some of you younger um, followers of mine might not know or have had access to encyclopedias, but encyclopedias were a big deal when I was a little girl. And so this felt to me like an encyclopedia, but of stuff that I liked, of ghosts and supernatural things. So I went ahead and picked this one up. This is a brand new one, and I'm sure it's like a reprinting of sorts. I don't think it's by any means an original one, but I'm sure it's just like the original ones that I read as a kid. So this has now come into my collection. So those were all my nostalgic kind of buys. I'm going to move on now to some recommendations from booktube friends. So these have all been recommended by some booktube friends. So the first one that I went ahead and picked up is The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. And I saw this on Michelle's channel from Literary Me or Literary Michelle 2025. So I'll go ahead and, of course, link her there. But she's the one that talked about this book, and I thought it sounded very interesting. So I went ahead and picked it up. And then these two were recommended to me by Cliff from CliffsDarkGems. So the two that I picked up from his recommendations, one from a video that he did and another one from a personal recommendation that he made for me. One of them is this one, A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. So in one of my horror videos for short works, I spoke to Cliff and he told me that this was one of his favorites. So I went ahead and ordered it, and I think it sounds really, really cool. And in addition, I also picked up The House by Bentley Little, and this is something that he talked about in his channel, and I thought it was so cool. And I've never read anything by Bentley Little before, but I did some research, and apparently I don't know why I haven't read from this author before. This is blurbed by Stephen King, who says that he, meaning Bentley Little, is the horror poet laureate, and I thought that was pretty impressive. He's also a Bram Stoker award-winning author, and I don't know, I had never read this author before, and this one sounded so cool, the premise, because I think it's about like 5 different people in different parts of the world who don't know each other, and they're all having like a shared dream of some sort. That's pretty much all that I know about this one, but I hope it has a haunted house. I mean, the artwork is really pretty there. And yeah, so if you've read from this author before, or you've read this, let me know thought of it, because I'm very excited to read an author that's been writing for like a really long time, and I had no idea that they were this important or this influential to the horror genre. So I'm looking forward to these. The next little category that I want to show you is I did pick up some graphic novels or mangas. So I want to show those to you. I think a lot of these were either, 2 of them I think were pre-orders, and the other one was just a book that I was missing for my collection. So I went ahead and picked up Smashed by Junji Ito. You guys know I really love Junji Ito. His collections of short stories are my favorite. This one also has 13 terrifying tales, and I love how beautiful these hardcover versions are, and some of these drawings, guys, are just stunning. Yeah, so I was missing this one. I don't know if I have all of them already. I do have quite a few of them. I think I'll do something with my Junji Ito books soon. I'll do like a little video or where to start with Junji Ito. Absolutely love these bind ups of scary stories. I find them to be thrilling. I also then, my pre-order for The Strange House Volume 3 got here, so I'm pretty caught up with this series, and this is The Strange House Part 3 that I had pre-ordered, and that was just released, so I just got it, and yeah. And just like that, I also got another Volume 3, and that's Creep Show Volume 3, so I had also pre-ordered. I'm on a pre-order basis with these because I'm caught up with the series, and these are books that I do want to have. I want to continue with the series, so Creep Show is one of those that I'll continue pre-ordering the new ones. So I had pre-ordered this one from the moment I finished Volume 2. I love them. The art is beautiful in these. I'm a big fan of Creep Show, the show. And yeah, these are great, and they're collections of short stories as well, so they are a lot of fun. So cool. So this one also came in for this book haul. So the next category is AP Lit material. That's kind of what I decided to call it. And basically, these are all books that I ordered for my AP class in one way or another. So as you guys know, I do teach AP Literature and Composition. That is like the main thing that I teach. I have about 5 or 6 sections of it each year. So I'm constantly trying to look for new works, new material that I might want to do with my students. I'm also constantly seeing what College Board is including in their selections, in their exams and stuff like that, to keep myself updated as well as my kids. So I ordered all of these in one way or another for AP Lit. So I'll walk you through them now. So the first book that I ordered is The Bradshaw Variations by Rachel Cusk. And I ordered this one because, as you guys know, my AP, well, you may or may not know, but AP season is in May, so my students already took their AP exam. And Q2 for the essays was based on this book. It was actually an excerpt from this. So the prose question came from, I believe, the opening chapter, one of the opening chapters of this. I had never heard of this book before. I had never read this, and I'm so intrigued that this was on the AP exam. My students struggled a little bit with this prompt. So, you know, I'm dying to kind of read this book and see if it's something that maybe I want to include in, you know, the next few years into my curriculum or not. So yeah, let me know if you've read Rachel Cusk before. Apparently she has a lot of works. I had not read any of her books before, and I saw online that there were quite a few of them. I ordered this one because this is where they pulled that selection from, but if I like it, I might end up ordering some other of her works. I also went and ordered Wide Sargasso Sea, and I've been for a while curious about this. I know that it serves almost as like a side story connecting Jane Eyre, and giving like some of the characters, I don't want to say too much because it might be spoilery for Jane Eyre. So in case you haven't read Jane Eyre, basically this gives us a background or a reimagining of one of the characters in Jane Eyre. And I won't tell you more because that's kind of like a spoiler for Jane Eyre if you haven't read it. But I'm very interested in this book. Maybe it's something that I want to teach, or at least do some excerpts of, or at least maybe do companion reads between this and Jane Eyre. I think that would be something that I would want to do in my class this upcoming year. So next, I ordered Don't Look Now by Daphne du Maurier. And this includes stories selected from Daphne du Maurier. And I believe it has maybe like 10 of them. One of them obviously being the titular Don't Look Now. So as you guys know, I absolutely love Daphne du Maurier. I have quite a few of her other works. The only one I've ever really taught is Rebecca. As you guys know, that is my favorite book of all time, and I have taught it before to my students. And so I'm curious to see if there's other works by Daphne du Maurier that maybe I would like to teach in the future. I have, of course, read Don't Look Now. If you are a fan, maybe you've seen the movie. If you like older movies, maybe you've seen the movie, even if you haven't read this book. But yeah, I'm very curious to see if any of these shorter works might be something that I want to include, since I love Daphne du Maurier so much and I love her writing. So maybe in lieu of, or for students who end up not picking Rebecca because it's a longer, lengthier book, maybe one of these shorter options would be good for them. So I ordered that one. I also ordered Big Fish by Daniel Wallace. And I vaguely remember watching this movie, vaguely remember that. I have to do a little bit of research, but the reason I got this is because it did appear in the AP exam this year as a Q3 potential title that students could write about. And I personally had not seen this featured before. So now I'm curious. I think kids might enjoy it because there are definitely like magical things that happen in this, and that's always popular with a lot of my students. And it's a fairly short book, and I think they might enjoy it. So I'm gonna pick it up to see what the writing is like and see if it's something that I want to give as an independent reading option in my classes, because it officially was featured on the exam this year. So I also went ahead and ordered Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid, and I have taught an excerpt of this before to my students as a practice for a Q2, which is the prose narrative. I have also taught other stories of Jamaica Kincaid's. I've taught Girl, and this is like a long novel that I'm interested in maybe offering as an option for, instead of just doing the excerpt, having my students pick this as one of their longer ones. Although it's short, it would still be like, instead of just doing the excerpt, doing the entire story. So it was hard for me to order this, actually. I don't know if it's out of print or what, but I believe I found it on Thrift Books. That's where finally I was able to pick it up from. But the excerpt that I have taught my students, they tend to enjoy, and they're always curious about the rest of the story. So I was thinking I could possibly add this to my list. And then the last book that I ended up getting for my AP Lit curriculum possibilities is Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. So I'm a big Annie Dillard fan. Her writing is spectacular. I don't do a lot of her books with my students simply because I focus in my course mostly on fiction pieces, but her writing is so exquisite that I wanted to include some of it as we study some different author techniques. So just recently, with my school's literary society, I was a part of a little activity that went on in one of their group meetings, and it included an excerpt from Annie Dillard's about pennies and hiding pennies and such. And I was really inspired by that piece, and I wanted, or I had the idea of perhaps combining a part of this with some of the poetry of Mary Oliver, because I feel like the themes really lined up. It was about the cycles of life and the various stages of our lives and the seasons of our lives, and the unexpected surprises of the world. And so I thought it paired beautifully with that. And I do teach Mary Oliver to my students. So I was thinking I could maybe do something with this as well as the poetry of Mary Oliver. So yeah, if there's any teachers who follow me, or anyone who has studied either Annie Dillard or Mary Oliver or Jamaica Kincaid or any of these authors, and you've either taught this before, you've studied these works before, let me know. Let me know if you think my AP Lit students might enjoy reading from some of these voices or reading some of these works, if it's worked for you, because I'm currently almost in summer mode, which means I'm going to be relaxing, but at the same time, I'm going to have some time to lesson plan and revamp my curriculum and add a couple new things and options and such. And I get really excited about that stuff. So I'd love to hear from you if you have some experience with any of those authors or books. So the next category that I want to share with you is I did get some collections of short stories. You guys know I love me an anthology or a collection of short stories by certain authors. So I did order a couple of these. Some of them are authors that I've read from before. Others are books that I've seen other booktubers talking about, or they're popular on Bookstagram. So I ended up getting Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. So I have read from this author before. I think she's very, very good at writing horror or suspenseful or weird and strange short stories. So I've been meaning to pick this one up for a while. Um, and I'm excited. I think she's a very fresh, cool voice. And all of her stories are very poignant and they're very nuanced, and I like her writing voice a lot. So I ended up picking this one. Then I also ended up getting Harlan Ellison's Greatest Hits. And I had never seen this bind up before. I actually feel like this might be very new. I'm not really sure. I know in the past I have struggled with finding some of this author's short stories. They were just not anywhere published in a collection anywhere that I could find them. I did find some PDFs online, but for a while I've been looking for this author's collections of short stories, and finally I was able to find this one. I mostly am going into this just having read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. That's what I've read from this author. It's a piece from 1967, which is absolutely wonderful. I've actually taught this as well to my students, but I know there's like a video game based on the short story, and it's super interesting and entertaining. And I've heard that the rest of this author's work is like that. So, yeah, I was so excited when I searched one more time. I was like, let me see if I can find a version of this that includes the short story. And I found this one. So I'm almost sure this is new. I don't think this is something that has been readily available. Yeah, this says 2024. So I'm thinking this is definitely a brand new kind of collection of their short stories. And look at that art, right? It's so beautiful with the hands. So yeah, let me know if you have this one or if you've read more than just that one, because I'm excited to dive into more of this author's work. And not that many people talk about their work. So then I'm so excited for this, guys. I ended up getting Portal Mania by Debbie Urbonsky. I think that's how you pronounce that. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. So these two books, this one and this one, I kind of saw them together on Bookstagram. I don't remember. They've been all over the place recently, but when I saw Portal Mania and this beautiful cover, I had to look it up. I had to say, what is this? As you guys know, I'm a big fan of Portal fiction. And so when I looked it up, it said that these are all stories dealing with portals, like portals popping up like around the world, you know, and I don't know, but this just sounds so intriguing to me. Very Black Mirror, very sci-fi horror, and just that look and the image of the portal in the front. Isn't this like everything you've ever wanted? That font is beautiful. I'm very attracted recently to books like these. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be great. Look at the back. I don't know, guys, but I'm stoked. Have any of you read this? Let me know, because I'm super excited about it. And I guess I'll pair it up with this one. This one is called Helians, and it's also a collection of short stories by Julia Elliott. And this is blurbed first of all by Carmen Maria Machado, so that already is wonderful for me. I love Carmen Maria Machado. So it says, I am obsessed with these lush feral stories. And yeah, I'm not really sure. Look at that cover also, right? And that font. These two remind me of each other. I bought them together, and at one point I was like, oh my gosh, these look beautiful together. um they're different authors, I know, and they might have nothing in common with each other, but I feel like they're just going to be awesome. Like, that's what they're going to have in common, that they're awesome. And so I'm very excited for these collections. If you've read them or you know of these authors or these are on your TBR, let me know. I'd love to get even more stuff like that. That makes me very excited. So the next set of books that I am hauling have been gifts. So these three were gifts that I received. So the first one is called Pluto by Urasawa Tezuka. And this is volume 1. And this is a manga. And this is from, so sweet. This is from a student of mine who got this for my birthday. It's a student who reads manga as well, and they know I love manga. So this is one of their favorites, and they went ahead and got this for me. And I'm very excited to get into this. I was not familiar with it prior to hearing about it, but it's just so beautiful. Like the artwork seems great. Um, so I'm excited for this one. And yeah, it's called Pluto. And the next two were also gifts. So these were 2 gifts from my stepson for Mother's Day. And these are 2 books that he picked for me. And I love them. So this first one is the Book of Bill, and this is one of his favorite books. And it has like all these hidden cool things. When he got his copy, I kind of looked through it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to read it. And we kind of, spent some time trying to decipher like because it has like codes and stuff like that. And I know if you go like online, lots of people have deciphered some of like the secret things in here, but I'm a big fan of like game books, as you guys know. And this has like all sorts of hidden things throughout, and it's very funny. So I'm looking forward to being able to read it and ask him a million questions, because I'm sure I'm not going to understand most of it, but it'll be fun. That way we have our own copies and we can kind of discuss or talk about it. It's interesting because this is blurbed by Guillermo del Toro, and I really love Guillermo del Toro, and I can totally see how this is kind of connected to that. So I thought it interesting that it was blurbed by Guillermo del Toro. If you're not familiar, this is related to the Gravity Falls show. Like that's what this is kind of based on. So if you've seen the show, then maybe you've heard about it. But I'm mostly intrigued at all these like hidden kind of puzzle things. And it was just so sweet that he wanted to get me a book that he loved and that he knew I would love. And then he also got me another book. Um, and he ended up getting me Edgar Allan Poe Puzzles. And it says Conundrums of Mystery and Imagination. And this is by Dr. Gareth Moore. I had no idea this existed, guys. And I have a ton. That entire, I don't think you could see it, but where the spirally stuff is, that section right underneath the romance, that's my little tiny romance section. Right underneath there, that shelf and the bottom one, those are all game books. Like that's why they're kind of messy, because they're, they're all different sizes and stuff like that. But that's my whole game book section. So I'm a big fan of game books. I did not know this existed. And so he picked this up at Barnes and Noble for me. He went with my husband trying to find books for me, and he was able to find this. And what I love is that they're like mini cases, like mini puzzles or cases, but they all have something to do with his stories. So for example, this is the sherry casks. So obviously this has to do with the cask of Amontillado, and then it'll say things like Fortunato had ordered 5 new casks. So it includes the characters from the stories, but then it's created all these like little logic kind of puzzles. So I'm obsessed with that because I don't know if I've talked enough about Poe on my channel, but I'm a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe. I love all of his short stories and his poetry. And I had no idea that this thing existed. And supposedly my husband says that there's other ones, like other author puzzles. So I haven't been back to Barnes& and Noble since they went for Mother's Day. I wasn't there that day, but since Mother's Day, I have not personally gone after I received this. So I want to go back and I want to check what other ones they have. But I thought it was so cool that that they had this inspired by Poe. So hopefully I like them. Hopefully they're not too difficult or too easy. That's the thing with puzzles, right? You want to make sure that there's a balance of sorts. But yeah, I think it's super cool. It has like all the little puzzles and then all the solutions in the back. And some are very nicely illustrated and they're very short, which I also like. Um, so yeah. I'm excited for both of these. So next, what I have here is my Kindle Unlimited pile. That's what I named it. So basically, I read a lot of books on Kindle Unlimited, and sometimes I just want to have a physical copy, and I know that that kind of defeats the whole point of Kindle Unlimited, you know? I love the concept of Kindle Unlimited. I like discovering a lot of writers through Kindle Unlimited, but I find that a lot of times I end up reading books on Kindle Unlimited and then I kind of forget. um I'm a big physical reader. Like, I like physical books, obviously, because I have a library and I can display my books and I love that aspect of it. But it's just so difficult for me when I'm recommending books to you or pitching books to you for different videos and I don't have the books. And I know I've read all these great thrillers or great books on Kindle Unlimited, but since I don't have them physically with me, I tend to forget and don't include them on my list of various books that I want to recommend to you. So that being said, I ended up getting a couple of these things. So the first ones I want to show you, there are a group of retired teachers that are friends of mine who do have a book club that I participate every now and then. Sometimes it's really hard for me to make it to their meetings and their sessions and all that, but they are reading currently The Housemaid, which I have read before. I read this as a Kindle Unlimited book by Frida McFadden, of course. And so I want to participate in their discussion group. So I figured I had to order the book. I said, okay, I'm going to order the book because I read this so long ago. I have to at least like brush up a little bit on it and do some post-it notes so I can be ready for the book club to kind of talk to them about it. And then I went ahead also and just ordered book 2 and 3. I have not read these. I have not read book 2 and 3. I read The Housemaid, and then I went ahead and read a ton of the Frida McFadden books. I've read a lot of them. I want to say I've read at least 12 of them on Kindle Unlimited. I don't own any of those. The only ones I do own are The Tenant, which I just bought for a buddy read and I did a video on, which you guys have already seen if you follow my channel. And I also have physically One by One, I think that's what it's called. And I have not read that one, which is interesting to me that I've read all of these Frida books, but I've read them digitally on Kindle Unlimited. And then the one that I have here on my shelf, I have not read. So it kind of shows you that when you have like your books on your shelves, you kind of like forget about them or you leave them, you know, on there forever, and then it's hard to kind of pick them up. But then when I'm on my Kindle, immediately at night, if I finish something, I'll just pick up something else. I'll just click on something else that's on Kindle Limited and start reading. And so that becomes then my Kindle book. So I think that's, you know, interesting because sometimes having something on my shelf takes longer. But I decided to order both of the Housemaids. I don't even know which is book 2 or 3, but I decided to order the other ones just so I could have the collection of them. I am interested in reading them. I've spoken a little bit about Frida McFadden in my channel, not a lot. I do find her writing to be very compelling, and I want to finish them quickly, and I end up reading them in one sitting. I wouldn't say they're like the best books ever, but they're highly entertaining, and her plot twists are second to none. I don't know how she does it, but so many of her plot twists are pretty impressive, and I don't see them coming. So I enjoy the, as people call it, the popcorn thriller writing of Frida McFadden. So that's these three. And then the other Kindle Unlimited purchase that I did was I got The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, because I have read this before on Kindle Unlimited. I read it a really, really long time ago. I barely remember it, but of course, I had to get it because I wanted to get the sequel, The Perfect Divorce. And it's these like beautiful, like bloody versions. So how could I get, The Perfect Divorce and not have The Perfect Marriage, right? And I had to get both of them, and I I'm okay with that. I obviously I want to display it on my bookshelves, but I'm okay with, supporting or giving money to authors that I've enjoyed their books before on Kindle Unlimited. I did think The Perfect Marriage was a solid read. I believe I gave that like a 4 star. It was a really good thriller. Obviously now I want to reread it before I read the sequel because it's been that long. But I do think that for me that makes sense. And it doesn't mean that I have to buy all the books physically as trophies, as some people call them, right? After having read them on Kindle Unlimited, some people are perfectly fine not owning them or not having the books, but I do enjoy owning books and having books on my shelves that either I'm going to be reading or that I have read, and I can recommend to others or I can lend out to others. And a lot of my friends do use my my shelves as a library. A lot of them, will come and check out a book or whatnot, and I like that. That's something that I enjoy. So, and I know that's not for everyone. I know a lot of people enjoy just reading, and I know that they're different, hobbies. Reading and buying books are different hobbies, but I'm just excited. I'm excited that I got to get this special edition of them. And now they can live like side by side each other on my shelves. If you've read them, let me know. I just recently talked to someone who had read who was reading The Perfect Divorce, but they said that they wish they would have done a reread of The Perfect Marriage because there were a lot of references to the first book. So that kind of confirmed for me that I did the right thing in getting that one, and that I should read the first one again before I dive into the new one. Okay, but if you've read them, let me know. I'd love to hear what you thought of them. So the next category of books is books that I bought either for buddy reads or book clubs or read-alongs. So these are all going to be books that I'm going to be reading with others in one way or the other, or maybe they are a part of celebrity book clubs. So all dealing with book clubs and or buddy reads. So the first one is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. So this, I believe, is a Reese's book club pick. And at first, I was not going to read this because I felt like it was too historical fiction for me. I felt that it was not something that I would normally enjoy. But, however, a couple of friends of mine, Melissa being one of them, told me she absolutely loved this and that there was a murder mystery component to this. And that although historical fiction, it did read like a murder mystery. So she said that I should pick it up, that I would probably really enjoy it. So I'm one to listen to my friends when they recommend things. So I went ahead and picked it up, and I am looking forward to it. So I initially didn't put it on my radar when it was a Reese's pick, but now since my friend recommended it to me, and I have heard other people say wonderful things about it, and now that I know it has a murder mystery component, all of that is, good stuff. So I did pick it up and add it to my list. The next one I want to get to is The Names by Florence Knapp. And this one and the other one, Broken Country, were both book of the month picks. And this is also a part of the celebrity book clubs. I'm not sure if this is Good Morning America or Read with Jenna. Now I don't know. It's in my reading journal. Um, so yeah, I went ahead and picked this up. I was very interested in this because I know it dealt with I enjoyed the premise or the concept of it because it had to do with the impact that names have on who we are. And that's something that I've discussed or that I've wondered, that I've questioned a lot, the impact of names. I know that's a like kind of a philosophy question that I've posed to my students before when I've spoken to them or brought up essential questions, like how important is your name, or how much do you think your name has defined who you are as a person thus far? And I believe that's like the premise of this. So although the genre is not necessarily something I think I would have normally picked up, the premise alone seems so good that I went ahead and picked this up. The next one is for a buddy read that I will be doing with some booktube friends. And this one is All Fours by Miranda July. And I will be reading this in July with my booktube friends. So I will be reading this with Dee from the reading room. And I will also be reading this with Michelle from Literary Michelle 2025. And I will be reading this with them as our second buddy read. We already completed The Tenant, which was our first buddy read together. We held a live show for that, and it was so much fun getting together and talking about this Frida book. And so now this is going to be our next pick. And I'm not completely sure what this is about. I think it's a little bit strange. It's about like a woman who like just decides one day like she doesn't want her life anymore or something, and she like goes away and go somewhere else to reinvent herself or something. I think that's what it is. Remember, guys, I go blindly into these things. So I'll read like the first line or two and then I'm done, because I find like the synopsis ruins so much of the book for me. And so I like to go as blindly as possible. But yeah, so this was a National Book Award finalist. I actually had not heard of this before until Dee mentioned that we should maybe pick this up. Michelle did have it actually already. She owned it, and I believe Dee did as well. So both of them were familiar with this, and I was not. So I'm excited because it's something that was not on my radar before, and I'm hoping I will enjoy it. And so in July, we'll be reading this together. Stay tuned for a live show about this book. If you've read it, let me know. Let me know if you like this. I also went ahead and picked up The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. This just recently was announced as an Oprah book club, and Ocean Vuong is one of my favorite authors. I believe his novels read like poetry. His writing voice is exquisite. He's a beautiful person. And I was just so happy and excited, guys, when this book was selected. I've been watching, so many of the videos back and forth of Ocean Vuong receiving the news that his book was selected, and how moved to tears he was that Oprah had chosen one of his books. He said it was basically like a dream of his for Oprah to pick his book as one of her book club books. And I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy. I was going to pick this up regardless, simply because I love Ocean Vuong, and I've read a lot of his poetry, and I have read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous and loved it. So I was excited for yet another book from him, but now I'm even more excited to read it as a part of Oprah's book club. Next, I also picked up When the Wolf Comes Home. I actually didn't have to pick this up. I received this as a part of my Nightworms subscription, and I was very happy because this is one of the Book Troops picks, I believe, for the month of May. I'm not really sure, but that's Gabby's book club from Gabby Reads, and this is one of her book club books, and I'm super excited for it. It is Nat Cassidy. I have read from Nat Cassidy before, and I've enjoyed what I have read from Nat Cassidy before, so I'm super excited about this. It's a werewolf story through and through, I'm almost sure, and it has promise. I think this is going to be like a fun book. So hopefully I can read this soon. I have to check what month it's for. I might be behind. And then lastly, the last book club book that I will be reading and that I picked up is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. And I will be reading this for a fellow booktuber's book club. This is a book that she selected for her new book club that she started, Literary Love 123, and that's Jen's book club. So I am super excited to join her in reading this in the month of June. And this has a movie version. I have not seen the movie and I have not read the book. So I'm very excited because I'm going to go blindly into this. All I really know is the premise of it being like a group of schoolgirls that are together and then they disappear. And that's pretty much all I know and all I want to know. And I know it's been compared a little bit to Midsommar because of the horror in nature and like, you know, the brightness and lightness of the ambiance, but it's still horror piece. So I'm very excited about my read for this. I think I'm really, really going to enjoy this. And I will be reading it for her book club. And then the last category that I have is the biggest one, believe it or not. But this is the last category. And these are all books that are written by authors that I love. So all of the authors of these books that I am hauling are authors that I've read from before, that I love their works, and that I just had to pick up another book of theirs, either a backlist or a brand new release. But I just had to get them. I had to have them because I love their writing that much. So the first one here included in this is The Last Session by Julia Bartz. So I really enjoyed the writing retreat. She became an auto-buy author for me with just that book. I thought that book was stunning. I was so impressed with the writing. I thought it was over the top. It's everything I wanted from a murder mystery. And I'm hoping that The Last Session is a little bit like that as well. Then I picked up The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez. I'm a big fan of Julia Alvarez. I have read and taught her works before, and this one seems so interesting to me. I've never read it before. I've never read an excerpt of it before, so I'm excited to pick this one up. I then went ahead and picked up the two Eric LaRocca books that I don't have yet. One of them is This Skin Was Once Mine, which is a collection of short stories. And man, I love Eric LaRocca's short stories. I feel that's where he shines. I feel like the short stories are emotional and moving and scary and all of that. So I'm really excited for this one. And I also picked up At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca as well. And I love how both of these kind of have a similar vibe, right? With the red and the black. And this, I believe, is a novel. I know nothing about this one. I just know it's Eric LaRocca, and I am excited to read this. This one is lengthier. Uh, I'm not sure if I've read anything lengthy by this author. I mean, it's not long by any means. It's still like 230 pages of very large text or font. So I'm sure it's not that long, but it's probably one of the lengthier things I've read from him, but I'm very excited for these two. I then went ahead and picked up The Vacation by John Mars. Absolutely love John Mars. I've read about 5 of his books, I think, and they've all been wonderful. I think this is one of his thrillers because I know he has the thrillers and then he has like the sci-fi thrillers, you know, but I think this might just be like one of his regular thrillers. Not really sure, but the moment I know John Mars has a new book, I go ahead and pick it up. His writing is absolutely wonderful. I also went ahead and picked up by Lisa Unger, Close Your Eyes and Count to 10. I really have enjoyed most of Lisa Unger's books. The thing with her is I feel like I've read 3 or 4 of her books and they've all been like 4 stars. I don't think I've ever given Lisa Unger a 5 star, but hopefully I will. I know the premise of this one sounded good. This might see, yeah, this is an extreme game of hide and seek that turns deadly. Um, First, I love her. I know I know her books are going to be a 4 star at least. So I will always read a Lisa Unger book. They just always leave me wanting a little bit more, if you will. But I really love the premise of this. It's like a game. I think it's an isolated island or isolated closed circle mystery. I love both of those things. So Lisa Unger paired up with a game trope and an isolated closed circle mystery, this is going to be great. So I really hope I like it. I believe her last book was The New Couple in 5B. That's the last one I think I read, and it was like a solid 4 star, you know. But yeah, I have high hopes for this one. I then found, and you might remember if you watch my videos, that I got the original book of these, the first one, the first bibliophile book, um, and I devoured it. I bought it as an impulse buy at Barnes and Noble. Like, I looked at it, I picked it up, I was drinking a coffee, and I was perusing it. I purchased it on the spot, brought it home, finished it in 2 days, and I actually included it in my wrap up without even putting it on my TBR, without hauling it. You never saw any of that. You just saw how I felt about it. And I said in that video, wow, I wonder if she has another book. Like, I think she's so talented. Her art is so beautiful. I would love to read another book of hers. And she has another one. This is like her new one. So this one is smaller in size. So the book itself is smaller and it has less pages, but I was so excited. This one is Bibliophile Diverse Spines, and it's about diversifying your reading. So I don't know, but it's a modern take on her kind of what she does, which is do bookish kind of spreads, you know, including like award-winning books, and then she draws out all of the little book covers, and she draws pictures of the spines, and she draws pictures of the authors. So I'm a big supporter of her, and her projects or whatnot. So I had to pick this one up. I hope it's as good as the other one because I really appreciated what she did, and I think I'm gonna like it. And then the last book that I am going to tell you about that I picked up is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I really love Chuck Wendig's authorial voice. Like, I really love their writing. I've read a couple of their books, and I have also read a couple essays and introductions. I know there's an Eric LaRocca book that has like an essay by Chuck Wendig to introduce it, and I just love how Chuck Wendig writes. Like, I really do. So this one seems so cool to me, guys. I have seen this everywhere online, like on Bookstagram. I haven't really heard booktubers talking about it, but I've seen it on various people's Bookstagram. And the premise is just what got me. Like, this little phrase right here, that's all I read. But it says a group of friends investigates the mystery of a strange staircase in the woods in this mesmerizing horror novel. So basically they're like on a camping trip. The kids are like, the group of people are in a camping trip or something, and then they see materialize like this staircase, like in the middle of the woods. I don't know, that sounds so cool. So I had to get it. I know he's a great author. I know it's a voice that I enjoy reading from. And then the premise seemed very cool. Um, so there you have it, guys. These are all books that I have acquired recently and that I am so excited to get to. And I know my TBR keeps growing exponentially. But besides reading, I love hearing about new books, getting excited about new books, buying new books. That's also a very big hobby of mine. And so I'm so happy to bring these into my library and give them a new home and hopefully read some of them soon. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I would love And I know I've asked you a million things to tell me in the comments below, but I would love it if you've read any of these books. If you think I should prioritize a couple of them, please let me know in the comments below. So if you've read any of them or any of these are on your radar, please let me know. I would love to hear what you think. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today. Hope you enjoyed my book haul as much as I enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye! And I picked it up. That's my husband coming home.